When my first love confessed to the new transfer student, everyone thought Ava would be devastated. What they didn't expect was that Ava was actually sitting on his roommate's bed, with a bit of liquid already soaking into the sheets. Ethan was going to confess to that pretty transfer student. He had asked everyone to keep it a secret from me, but he didn't realize that some gossips couldn't keep it in and had already told me. Everyone knew I had a crush on Ethan and dreamed of marrying him someday. This time, Ethan seemed completely infatuated with that girl. People thought I would throw a fit, cry, and cause a huge scene. Everyone loves to watch this kind of drama between men and women unfold. They were all waiting for me to lose control and rush over to cause chaos. But, unfortunately, even after Ethan successfully confessed, I still hadn't shown up. The crowd of onlookers, 3 layers deep, started to lose interest. Even Ethan's face didn't show much joy. He put his arm around his new girlfriend and took out his phone. There were no calls or messages. Ethan frowned slightly. Then he turned to the crowd and said, "I'm treating everyone tonight. You're all invited." The onlookers all cheered. I had been standing behind some trees the whole time and only then walked out. Someone with sharp eyes spotted me and immediately shouted, "It's Mia. Mia's here." I knew it. There's no way Mia would stay away. Ethan suddenly looked up the moment he saw me. The corners of his lips curved up almost imperceptibly. I ignored everyone waiting to see some drama and walked straight up to Ethan. "Mia?" Ethan held his new girlfriend tighter. He looked at me and said flatly, "You can't force feelings. We've known each other for over 10 years. I don't want to say anything too harsh and hurt our old friendship. From now on, I'll still treat you like a sister. If you need anything, you can still come to me." Then he lowered his voice. "With so many people watching, don't make a scene. Go home, Ethan." I interrupted him and slowly took a step forward. He frowned again. "Mia, be good." I smiled and handed him the bracelet I had just taken off my wrist. "I came to return this to you." Seeing the bracelet, Ethan's face suddenly darkened. "Mia, what game are you playing? Take the bracelet back. I won't bother you anymore after this." Ethan stared at me, his voice growing colder. "I don't care about this little bit of money. If you don't want it, just throw it away." As soon as he finished speaking, I turned and threw the bracelet into a nearby trash can. "You can throw away all the other things I gave you before, too." With that, I left without looking at him again. By the time I reached the riverside, it was raining heavily. Standing in the rain with an umbrella, I thought about the dreams I had in the past few days. In the dream, because of Ethan confessing to Lily, I cried and made a scene to force him to break up. I jumped into the river that night, but what was the result? I almost lost my life. Ethan only stayed at the hospital for 5 minutes before leaving. Resolutely, the Brown family who had fostered me thought I was embarrassing them by attempting suicide. And because of Ethan's attitude, they felt I was no longer of any use to them. They forced me to drop out of school and sent me back to my birth parents, who were involved in all kinds of vices. In the end, my life spiraled downward, and I died miserably in a foreign country. After I died, the person who collected my incomplete remains turned out to be the one I had always feared and kept at a distance. And Ethan, newlywed and in high spirits, never showed. These days, the events in my dreams came true one by one. If it weren't for these dreams, I would have been frantically calling Ethan by now. Then I would have threatened to kill myself and jumped into the river. I'm very grateful for this dream. It made me feel like I was reborn. I can change my predetermined tragic fate bit by bit. The 3rd time I dialed that number, it was finally answered. I clutched the phone tightly and held it gently to my ear. The name Daniel Black lingered on my tongue several times before I finally uttered it. Slowly, the heavy rain cut off all the noise in the world. Only Daniel's voice, slightly lazy, sounded deeply. "Mia?" "Daniel, it's raining heavily. I'm by the river and can't get back. Can you come pick me up?" The other end of the phone was silent for a few seconds. I nervously gripped the umbrella handle, my palm clammy with sweat. In the dream, when Daniel was collecting my remains, he seemed to cry. His tears fell one by one on my decaying flesh and bones. Even in the dream, I could feel that burning sensation. Later, he carried a small bottle of my ashes with him for a lifetime. And he was lonely for a lifetime. I couldn't help but tear up and choked back a sob. "Why are you crying?" Daniel's voice suddenly came through. It was still that indifferent tone, even with a hint of impatience. "I didn't say I wouldn't come. Then when will you be here?"
Wait.
"I'll be there in 20 minutes. "Okay, I'll wait for you, Daniel." He didn't say anything else, and the call ended. 15 minutes later, I gave my umbrella to a mother and child seeking shelter from the rain. So when Daniel arrived, I was already soaked from head to toe. When he got out of the car, his thin lips were tightly pressed together, his face as cold as if it contained frost and snow. I brushed my wet bangs aside and looked up at him with a bright smile. "Daniel, you're really punctual."
Mia.
"You might as well die of stupidity." He coldly grabbed my arm and shoved me into the car. Then he threw me a soft blanket. "Dry yourself off. Don't get my car dirty." He glanced at me in the rearview mirror and then skillfully turned the car around.
Oh.
I obediently wrapped myself in the blanket. Then I couldn't help but steal glances at him as he focused on driving. When he had no expression, he always looked very cold and unapproachable. Many girls at school liked him, but no one dared to confess. He was Ethan's roommate. I often went to Ethan's dorm, and every time I went, Daniel seemed to really dislike me. Even now, although he came to pick me up, his attitude was still cold. Just now, when he shoved me into the car, he used extra force. My wrists still hurt with a ring of red marks. It's hard to tell that he had been secretly liking me all along. I slowly lowered my eyelashes. Everything in the dream had come true. But now, because of my changes, many things have also changed. Would Daniel still like me? If he didn't like me at all, wouldn't I be causing him trouble by doing this? Back to the dorm. Daniel suddenly turned his head and glanced at me. My heart suddenly skipped a beat, and I blurted out, "Yeah, back to your dorm." Daniel gripped the steering wheel and snorted. "Ethan won't be back tonight." "I know." I gripped the edge of the blanket, twisting it tighter and tighter. "I'm not looking for him." The car suddenly braked sharply and stopped by the roadside. As the car moved through the empty streets, the silence between Daniel and me grew almost suffocating, broken only by the rhythmic sound of the heavy rain pounding against the car's roof. The streetlights flickered by the window, casting shadows that came and went, like the bitter memories I was trying to push down. I glanced sideways at Daniel, who remained focused on the road, his face rigid, but his eyes, always so cold, held a glimmer of something I couldn't interpret. I wanted to speak, to break the silence, but the memory of that haunting dream still burned in my mind, trapping any words in my throat. I could still picture Ethan in my mind, with that smug smile when I returned the bracelet. How dare he say he'd always see me as a sister? How dare he make that statement in front of everyone, knowing full well how I felt about him? Even after years of friendship, he chose to disregard any consideration for me, making my humiliation public. And all this just to impress a girl he barely knew. Anger rose within me, and I felt my heart beat with resentment. But at the same time, a part of me felt liberated, as if I had finally woken up from a ridiculous, delusional dream. Daniel interrupted my thoughts by braking the car abruptly. I looked around, confused. He had stopped in front of the old town park where we'd spent so many carefree afternoons before Ethan and that new girl invaded my life, and turned it upside down. Daniel turned off the engine and looked at me with an intensity I'd never seen before, a look full of something between disdain and concern, and it left me speechless. "Why do you keep subjecting yourself to this?" he said, his voice low but as sharp as a blade. "Why do you keep humiliating yourself for someone like Ethan, someone who doesn't even care enough to look back?" I swallowed hard. It was the first time anyone had said aloud what I had been trying to deny. I looked at my hands, still trembling, trying to find an answer that wouldn't sound pathetic. I thought he was the only one who really understood me. That he was the person I could build something with, you know? My voice came out weaker than I'd like, almost a whisper. But I guess I was just a fool all along. Daniel laughed, a humorless laugh, shaking his head like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Maybe it's time for you to stop living to please other people, Mia. He paused, his gaze fixed on mine, and continued. You have an entire life ahead of you, and all you've done is try to be good enough for someone who never valued you. Is that what you want for the rest of your life? His words hit me like a bucket of cold water. I had never realized that all these years, I'd only been trying to become the person Ethan wanted. For a moment, I couldn't respond. I was just there, caught in Daniel's gaze, feeling my pride being crushed by that painful truth. You don't know how much I tried, I murmured, feeling the tears burning my eyes, but I swallowed them back. I thought I knew him. I thought we had something real. Something real? Daniel laughed again, this time with an irony that almost hurt. Mia, you spent years chasing after someone who just used you to boost his own ego. Maybe it's time for you to let go of that idea. Leave Ethan in the past and move on. For a moment, the weight of what he was saying hit me hard, and finally, somehow, I realized I was angry at myself. Angry for allowing myself to be manipulated, for trusting so blindly in someone who only treated me as a second choice, like a toy he would play with and discard when he got bored. I felt the tears escape, but this time, I didn't try to hide them. I allowed myself to feel all the pain and anger I had repressed for so many years. I want to change, I whispered, finally looking at Daniel. I want to be someone who doesn't need anyone else to feel complete. I want to move on and truly leave Ethan behind. Daniel smiled, but there was still a certain skepticism in his eyes. He leaned in closer, placing a firm and comforting hand on my shoulder. Then start now, he said softly but firmly. Prove it to yourself. Forget Ethan. He's the past. Stop caring what he thinks. You need to be true to yourself before anyone else. Those words, spoken by someone who had always been in the background of my life, carried an unexpected weight. It was as if Daniel had always seen something in me that I had never been able to see. And in that moment, I knew I needed to move on. Maybe in some way, Daniel had been waiting all this time for me to make this decision. Or maybe he simply knew, in a way no one else did, how much I needed to free myself. Without saying anything else, Daniel started the car again, and we drove in silence until we reached my apartment. When he parked in front of the building, I turned to him, feeling a strange new weight and yet a lightness I had never experienced before. Thank you, Daniel, for everything. My voice came out shaky but determined. He just nodded, and I saw a glimmer of pride in his eyes before he turned back to look at the steering wheel. There was something more there, a tension I couldn't quite identify, but in that moment, it was enough to know he was by my side. As I stepped out of the car and walked towards the entrance, I felt Daniel's gaze on me one last time. And for the first time, I didn't feel the urge to run back to him or to any other man. I felt, unmistakably, that perhaps this was the first night of the rest of my life, a life where I would finally be free to be who I truly was, without needing anyone's approval. I closed the door of my apartment, leaned against it, and let out a long sigh. I looked around at the empty space I had once imagined sharing with Ethan, and I realized that future no longer existed. There was a new world for me to explore, and this time, with my heart and mind completely focused on myself. This was my chance to start over, and with or without Ethan or anyone else, I knew I would never again allow anyone to cast me as a spectator in my own life. That night, I lay in bed with my mind still racing, Daniel's words echoing through my thoughts. No matter how much I tried to push them aside, each sentence felt heavier than the last. I nestled into the sheets, took a deep breath, and let the darkness of the room pull me toward sleep. The silence took over, and gradually, I felt my body give in, slipping into dreams. Suddenly, I found myself in a place that felt both familiar and mysterious. There were no walls, no doors or windows. Just a vast, calm, misty expanse where everything around me was soft and inviting. Walking toward me, I saw a vague figure whose presence was soothing, almost tangible. Without any words, I understood they were here to tell me something I hadn't yet realized. They began to speak, and although I couldn't make out their face, their voice was warm and serene, resonating directly with my heart. Mia, they began, "you've finally found peace, not because someone filled an empty space within you, but because someone who truly loves you brought you home and stayed by your side when you needed it most." Their words touched something deep within me. It was true. What made me feel at peace wasn't simply being brought home safely. It was the conversation, Daniel's attentive gaze, the way he held on to me when I was feeling lost. He hadn't tried to fix my problems. He'd just stayed beside me, showing me what I struggled to accept. It was more than friendship. It was something I hadn't allowed myself to recognize until now. "And you know, Mia," the voice continued, "real love isn't about filling someone else's emptiness. Real love is understanding, supporting, and still challenging someone to be more than they believe they can be." That's what Daniel has been doing, even if you didn't notice. He's always been there, waiting for you to open your eyes to it. I felt warmth bloom within me, and something I'd never considered suddenly started to make sense. All those quiet moments of support, the conversations, even his moments of distance, they all seemed to be his way of protecting me, of teaching me to look beyond Ethan and see myself more fully. It was as if he had known I needed to go through this journey, that I needed to feel the pain, but he'd always be there, ready to catch me when I was finally ready to accept true love. The figure smiled softly and faded into the mist, leaving me with a sense of clarity I'd never experienced. And in that instant, I knew I needed to wake up. My eyes opened gently, and I looked around the room, the real world slowly coming back into focus. I woke up with a feeling that I needed to do something immediately, without wasting a second. It was still dark outside, but I got up with an unwavering sense of purpose. I grabbed my coat, left the house, and walked toward Daniel's apartment. I needed to see him, to talk to him. Each step I took made me feel steadier, more certain. When I finally reached his door, I took a deep breath, feeling my heart beat faster. I climbed the stairs slowly, but with an urgency I couldn't contain. Standing outside Daniel's door, I knocked softly and waited. He opened the door with a look of surprise, clearly not expecting to see me there, especially at that hour. His eyes fixed on mine, and for a second, he seemed to hesitate, trying to understand what I was doing. "Daniel," I whispered, looking at him with an intensity one had never felt before. I didn't need to say anything more. He seemed to understand. We moved closer, and before any doubt could surface, I kissed him. I felt his body relax as he kissed me back, wrapping me in his arms with a softness and strength that made me feel safe, whole. This was where I was meant to be, and nothing could make me doubt it. In the days that followed, we began to spend more and more time together. Our conversations, once so loaded with tension, turned into something lighter, more intimate, as if we had finally found the missing piece to understand each other. Walks in the park, nights watching movies, and moments when we simply talked about life and our dreams. Each second with him revealed a world I had never known before. This wasn't an idealized love. It was a real one, with its imperfections, but so genuine and intense that I felt I could trust it forever. With time, Daniel and I fell deeply in love. He showed me what it meant to be truly loved, without the need for games or insecurities. He taught me to trust, to open up, and to share my vulnerabilities without fear. Each day with him was a rediscovery, an experience of love I never thought possible. He didn't try to change me. He simply encouraged me to be myself, and finally, I was learning what it meant to love and be loved completely. Then, one afternoon, as we were walking together in the park, we saw Ethan in the distance. He was alone, looking confused and maybe regretful. When he saw us, his eyes lit up with surprise and, at the same time, a hint of sadness. He came closer, and for a moment, I stayed silent, waiting to see what he would say. "Mia," he started, his voice hesitant. I've been thinking. I made a lot of mistakes, and I wanted to know if I might still have a chance with you." Looking at him, I felt a mixture of nostalgia and pity. I had waited so long for those words, but now they felt empty. Ethan was no longer part of my world. He was a closed chapter, and I was certain I'd never need him to feel complete. I took a deep breath and held Daniel's hand, looking firmly into Ethan's eyes. "Thank you, Ethan," I said calmly, but now I have exactly who I was always meant to have. And that's all I need. Ethan looked at me with a mix of surprise and resignation. Perhaps he finally understood just how much he'd lost me. Perhaps he realized it was too late. He lowered his gaze and nodded, giving a final wave before turning and walking away. As I watched him leave, I didn't feel any pain, only a calm, quiet peace, knowing that I was exactly where I belonged. When I turned to Daniel, he smiled, squeezing my hand with a tenderness that only he could offer. We walked together, unhurried, as the sun began to set on the horizon, illuminating our path. In that moment, I knew I had finally found the happiness I had been searching for all along.